afternoon, Nuts and Bolts. Ashmere and Aryanna Prasad back here to talk week 1 and week 2 of the NFL. So thanks for coming back on the show, even though I think it's like our show now, right? We're doing it together.
Hopefully, yeah. Hi, nice to see everyone.
So let's start. I think we should just kick it off with your team, right? I mean, they were kind of the star of the show, the Seattle Seahawks, and I think the performance they put on against the Falcons, and next week they're playing the Patriots. It's kind of like a combo of your two favorite teams, so we might as well just start there. So do you want to kick it off? Like, what was your idea of the way the Seahawks played, and how do you think they can do that for next week?
Yeah, so actually, I just started a weekly column over at Sports Illustrated, and so it's called Hawk's Eye View. Not to plug anything intentionally, but it ties into what we're talking about. So I'm actually writing a column about everything that's going on in the NFL, and I tie it into what happens in the Seahawks. And so this week, I talked team chemistry. And I feel like that's the biggest conversation we can have for week 1 because, we had no preseason. We had a shortened training camp. And so a few weeks ago, I wrote something focusing like, how is team chemistry going to play into when we actually play? And I think that the Seahawks actually have an edge over a lot of other teams because of that team chemistry. You know, you've got a stable franchise. You've got a coach and general manager that they've had for a decade now. You have Russell Wilson. He's entering his 8th year, and he is easily one, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I just want to point out, like, what really proves that is his completion rating on Sunday. He had an 88.6 completion rating. And it was 31 out of 35 passes for 322 yards. So, I mean, that's incredible. He's actually tied for 3rd highest in the league for quarterbacks that have passed 35 or more times. When you get to that many passes, it's so difficult to make almost all of them. So he's just, so precise, remarkable talent. He actually spread it around the offense, which is interesting. We used to say for Seattle, okay, maybe they don't have these huge stars and what is Russell going to do? And they just keep running it. But they let Russ cook this week. They let him, pass. He passed to running backs and tight ends and wide receivers. So it was just a really incredible performance. And, the defense really showed up as well. And the team overall was strong, but Russell was the star of the show.
Yeah, no, I think they played a lot better than what we've seen, especially I feel like everybody was always giving Russell a lot of credibility, but not the rest of the Seattle team because there was somewhere that something was lacking, right? Like the defense wasn't able to stop the rushing game or something was just stopping the Seahawks from winning. But they dominated against Matt Ryan. And next week they're taking on Cam Newton and his new Patriots, which I think is going to be very exciting because last week the Patriots made a lot of plays based off of Cam and the way that he's able to rush the ball. So I think that'll be exciting to watch Cam take on the Seattle defense. And I don't know how you're feeling about it. I mean, I'm still predicting Seattle to pull it through just because I think that the Seahawks are going to carry this high for as long as they can. And they're going to want to beat, this new team. And the Patriots are still kind of figuring themselves out with that whole chemistry aspect that you added. They just got Cam Newton. And I think so far, I mean, I thought it was a really exciting game, but how do you perceive that it's going to be when the two battle each other on Sunday night? And it's Sunday night game, so.
Right. So I'm greatly looking forward to that. Again, these are in the column about chemistry. I talked about there were 5 teams that started new quarterbacks on Sunday, and 4 of them lost. The only one to win was actually Cam Newton with the Patriots. So the Patriots are actually another incredibly stable organization. Tom Brady left. That was a big offseason story, but Bill Belichick is proving that he still got it together. He still got this team. They actually had a lot of players opt out. Notably, they had Dante Hightower, the middle linebacker who's been a leader on that defense. He opted out this season. I was interested to see how the Patriots would pull it together, and they did. Their offense definitely adapted with Cam's talents. And as far as Sunday, I do also expect the Seahawks to win. As I said, I still think they have such a strong advantage with chemistry, and I do want to note we do have Jamal Adams who got a sack. And Corey Diggs, the free safety, got an interception. So they're already proving they're going to be that safety tandem in the NFL this season. So, the Patriots, of course, they're extremely competitive. They could win the game. I wouldn't be shocked, but I would give Seattle a little bit of the edge in this one.
There are a good number of strong quarterbacks on the Patriots, so I think that's something Seattle needs to take in place. Their defense compared to last year, which was stellar, killed me in fantasy, gave me so many extra points. There's still Stephon Gilmore still there. He's still a strong piece. I think that'll be something that they also need to take into consideration. So I think this matchup is actually a lot cooler than it used to be, because before, I mean, I know you're a Brady fan, but I wasn't, so I didn't really care for it. But now that I'm seeing Cam, and I really do enjoy Cam, I'm still getting used to him wearing that uniform. I don't know, was that weird to you? I felt like it was super weird to see him in navy blue when he's usually in this like electric blue, you know, just like his personality is. So it's going to be a really cool matchup. But yeah, that Patriots defense, I think Seattle's going to be watching a lot of film and trying to create plays on how to, you know, get the ball down the field, because Russell can pass all those perfect completions, nearly 88%, like you mentioned. But the cornerbacks for the Patriots are just something that he's going to have to take into consideration too.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, Stephon Gilmore last year, Defensive Player of the Year, phenomenal, right? I mean, just Gilly Lock, as he is on Twitter. I mean, he's got it locked down. It'll be interesting to see how they cover and who they cover. So a lot of times Stephon Gilmore will actually he'll take on the second receiver and just completely cover them. And then they'll have teams like double team the top receiver. So when you look at Seattle, is it going to, Tyler Lockett was actually rated the second best NFL receiver last year by the NFL, right after Michael Thomas. But he doesn't have the same name recognition, right?
Wow.
Tyler Lockett has an incredible catch rate. It was like 75% last year. So he's got it locked down. But, going against a talented secondary, you also have J.C. Jackson for the Patriots, who I believe he got an interception on Sunday. So, and he got the game ball, actually. So, yeah, I mean, it's a formidable secondary, certainly. But if anyone can get it done, it's going to be Russell.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm rooting for Seattle, which I don't really root for Seattle, but I guess I'm not rooting for them. I just think they're going to win. I'm not going to say that I'm repping that green anytime soon, but I think we should. Yeah, no, not me. Not me, at least. I can't say that. But I think my next game, because if I didn't cover this, it would just be everybody would hate on me. But the Raider game was a very good game against the Panthers and their new quarterback who didn't win, Teddy Bridgewater. Josh Jacobs was truly the star of the show. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. It was just a really great performance by the Raiders, and something that I have been excited for, because this is a new team. Last year, there was a lot of team changes that John Gruden had made. He, I don't want to say got rid of, but he moved a lot of veterans out of the lineup and he brought in a lot of rookies. They moved to Vegas. Oakland was freaking out, throwing chairs on the field. Like, last year was an intense season for all Raider fans. For them to start off with a win, and especially against a quarterback that everybody was projecting to do very well, even though he has no real receivers out there in Carolina. I feel bad for Teddy, but I mean, either way, like I mentioned, Josh Jacobs did fantastically. And in his post game, he mentioned that he still had things to work on, which I thought was something so it just gives another testament to his work ethic, because he's always looking to be a better version of himself. Is he going to try to rush 5 touchdowns against the Saints? Is that even possible? I doubt it. But I mean, for him to at least have those goals for himself makes him another reason. It gives another reason why I think I'm rating him as my top running back for this season, just because he is putting that much pressure on himself. So this week they're going to take on the Saints, who we're going to talk about the Bucs right after I do this little thing. But the Saints offense is now missing Michael Thomas. So I'm wondering how that's going to be for Drew Brees, missing one of his key receivers. But he does have Emmanuel Sanders. So it's is he really missing anything? Not really. And it's Drew Brees. I think with Kamara, who was their leading scorer against the Bucs last week, there's just he's got a lot of weapons. Their opening game for Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas, there's no fans, which is still weird, but I'm hoping this matchup goes a lot better than I'm expecting, because you never know with Derek Carr. He threw a deep pass and I was like, wow, this guy remembers he has an arm. It was, I don't know, I don't know if you caught that game, because I know they only play so many things locally.
No, unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch much of the game. I do catch the Carolinas games locally, but I was paying attention to the Seahawks game because that's actually the team I'm covering. But no, just from what I've caught up, it sounds like an exciting game. I would have predicted the Raiders to win, but I'm excited to see the team rebuild, and I'm happy for Raiders fans. Obviously, I feel a lot of empathy for the fan base, as with the Chargers. Moving a city, that's a huge deal. And it hurts, like we care about these teams. It's personal. So I want to see them move successfully to Las Vegas. And I just love that they won in week 1. I think the Panthers have a lot of their own issues. So they lost Cam Newton, they lost Luke Kuechly, and they lost their head coach, and that's all in this off season. So it's going to be a hard year for them. I don't expect it to go super well, but with the Raiders, they've actually been rebuilding the past few years. They got Gruden, I believe it's on a 10-year contract, right? Mm-hmm. And he completely took the helm. And okay, I'm trading away Amari Cooper, which people criticized at the time, but he's building his own team. And I feel like with Josh Jacobs, which is someone he drafted, you really see like that star is getting to shine now. So rookies have a hard time their first season in the NFL, so I'm excited to see what Josh Jacobs is going to do in year 2. As far as best running back in the league, hey, I think we can make that case. I know in fantasy he got like 30-something points. I believe it was like 35 points. So, yeah, we can make that argument. But definitely a talented guy. And they just drafted a quick rookie receiver. Do you remember that name?
Yeah, Henry Ruggs. But he got hurt, so it's kind of like he left the field for a little bit. He returned, but those are things that just make I almost was not a non-believer of preseason, but now it gives you more idea of why preseason is so important, right? If Ruggs was able to be on the field a little bit longer, then he wouldn't have, those things wouldn't have happened. So I'm hoping he can stay healthy against the Saints. But let's just talk about the Saints-Bucks matchup, because that was so unexpected for Tom Brady to be that bad, I guess, if you want to put it lightly.
Yeah, to put it lightly. Yeah, I was surprised too. I mean, obviously we know he's one of the best quarterbacks. Well, I'm just going to say it. He's like the best quarterback of all time.
Man, you don't have to lie.
What?
I was like, he's your favorite. You don't have to lie. We know.
Yeah, okay, I've just been so in the off season, I've been seeing him throw these 60-yard, beautiful, perfect passes. I'm like, okay, Tom can get it done. He's got the weapons, all right. But as you just said, no preseason. Chemistry matters, and we saw that. He didn't have that long to practice with the team. There were all the coronavirus measures. And then it's not even just him. Sometimes it's a communication with the receivers. So I believe actually there was I think it was one of the interceptions, but he was trying to throw to Mike Evans, and there was like a miscommunication, someone running the wrong route. And a lot of times it's very easy to blame the quarterback. And actually Bruce Arians blamed Brady in the press conference and then had to go back and say, oh, actually, I looked at the footage. That was not Brady. Mm-hmm. To me, that's a little bit messy. I don't think that your head coach should be throwing you under the bus, right? And that's what I was thinking was, I'm glad that Bill Belichick is so tight-lipped. This is why. We don't want the drama in the NFL. You got to focus on the game. A little comment here and there, it gets messy for players, and it's just a distraction, honestly. So, but yeah, a very messy game for the Bucs. Their special teams was also a mess. There was a play in which, a guy was trying to, catch the ball, and someone runs out of nowhere. It's like, you're not even supposed to be receiving the kick. What are you doing? So what's the communication there? Their defense, their front seven, people are saying best in the NFL. They do have a very talented front seven. So they've definitely got a strong team to work with. So I think if they can work out the kinks, they can do well. But they went against the Saints team that is very strong. Again, to go back to chemistry and stable NFL franchises, they have an advantage. When you go in, you've had that head coach and GM for years. You have that franchise quarterback, Drew Brees, like, oh my God, you can trust him. Even if Michael Thomas is out, he can get it done. You know that. So yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup. But I would pick the Saints, but it's not that I don't want the Raiders to win. I would love to see them succeed. But I think that the Saints, again, just have such an advantage,
No, a huge advantage. I mean, they've been together for so long. Yeah. I just would like to see the Raiders keep up. That's all I'm asking. I would like the score to be within a touchdown, not any more than that, because any more is when you start feeling like, oh, we're retracting again. It's not the same as before, but yeah, I think we can only expect so much when the season just went 110 miles per hour rather than 50 miles per hour. Okay, so we're just going to wrap up the show with some fantasy talk because I know everybody is involved in a number of leagues. Like I mentioned in our first show, we're both in 6 leagues total, which is a lot of people to manage. So for the injury report, we've got Le'Veon Bell is out. We've got Michael Thomas with an injured ankle. He's not going to play against the Raiders, as I mentioned earlier. Marlon Mack is out now because he tore his Achilles, which is so unfortunate because I thought he'd be a great asset to the Colts. But if anybody got Hines from the waiver wire, then you're going to be so excited because he had about 27 points last week. So he did fantastically well. Another injury, we've got Le'Veon Bell, who was also a flop last week, which was kind of expected. So we've got a good number of key starters that are not playing this week. Brandon Cooks is still kind of questionable. He played in the opener with the Chiefs, but I don't think he did that well at all personally. I don't know why I keep giving in and drafting him, but I keep doing that to myself. But who are some players that you think are going to shine brighter than they did last year?
Yeah, so in my league, or one of my leagues, I have Chris Carson. So, yeah, okay, I know he's Seattle running back. That's partially why I took him. And in the past, Seattle's done a committee approach with their run game. So they run a lot, but it's a committee. They've been splitting. But this year, it's just Carlos Hyde. Rashad Penny's out of the picture for several weeks. So, but the interesting thing is that Russell Wilson actually threw 2 touchdowns to Chris Carson. So I was actually thinking of him as just like a traditional running back, but no, he catches passes too. So having a dynamic running back like that can obviously boost your fantasy score. Chris Carson finished with about 20 fantasy points this week. And then another player would be Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, I know we all liked Juju a few years ago, and then he was wide receiver too behind Antonio. But obviously with his departure and with Big Ben coming back, he's set to have a big year. The Steelers look good when they beat the Giants this week. So I'm expecting Juju to do pretty well. So yeah, I would pick those 2 players or trade for them. They're probably taken.
Yeah, I think those are 2 great people to keep your eyes on. I'm sure they were drafted early. I think a lot of people are doing 12-team leagues, which makes the sleeper bench like so important. So I picked up Russell Gage.
Oh yeah, for the Atlanta Falcons. I was watching him.
So I picked up Russell Gage on the waiver wire just because he got a lot of garbage points, as if you want to call them that. But he got 20 points last week against a very tough Seattle defense that we were just referencing. So I think he'll do fantastically well next week, especially because they're playing the Cowboys next week, who is predicted to have a stronger defense. I don't think any fantasy defenses did very well. I had the Vikings defense with -4 points.
Which you would never expect from the Vikings. But
yeah, and I think you mentioned your team had 0, right? The 2 defenses you had?
2 teams with 0. So I have the Bucs in one and the Seahawks in another. So I think these are actually good defenses. But if you go against a high-scoring offense, it doesn't matter fantasy-wise,
Yeah.
So.
No, totally. Right. Yeah. Okay, well, those are our takes for today and what we predict is going to happen for the next week. So don't forget to catch us on Moving the Chains next week. And good luck in fantasy, everyone. We will see you then.
All right. Thanks for having me.